Hello everyone. I wanted to take this opportunity to make a video for you to talk about some things that have been in my mind over the last week or so. I don't always have many opportunities to reach out to the entire parish, so I thought I'd make this recording to reach out to you. On February 1st, Governor Lamont increased our capacity for church attendance from 90 people at a Mass to up to 200 people at each one of our Masses. Now this was welcome news for us here at St. Edward's because we have a large facility and we can accommodate a larger number of people. Over the last several months, we have worked hard to maintain a safe environment in our church, insisting on masks and social distancing, limiting the number of participants, and making sure we sanitize after all of our Masses. We wanted to take this opportunity to extend to you now an invitation to consider that this might be the time to consider coming back to Mass. Let me tell you where my concerns are. St. Edward's Parish is a community of faith based on the sacraments and service to one another. In the sacraments, especially in Eucharist and in reconciliation, God communicates with us His strength, His grace, and His love. And in the service that we render one another, we communicate that same love to each other as part of a community. In order for those two things to happen, receiving God's grace and communicating God's love to each other, we have to come together. We have to be present to the Lord and to each other. Because of the pandemic, a community like St. Edward's is suffering because of distance. When a community like ours that is based on the sacraments becomes less connected to those sacraments, the bonds that hold us together begin to be strained. Our connection to God becomes harder to maintain when we are not receiving Holy Communion and the grace of the other sacraments. Now, over a short period of time, a community like ours can absorb the effect of some of that damage. But as time goes on and the pandemic drags on, my concern is that that separation is making us more and more into a non-sacramental community. Some of us who used to receive communion weekly have now not received Holy Communion for almost a year because of the fear of coming together. So many of our people who were connected weekly in prayer in our church have become absent from this community because of fear of illness. And I'm concerned that as time has dragged on, there is greater harm to our community than we realize. Here is what I'd like to invite you to consider. How can we begin to get back to church safely? How can we begin to live in closer union with Jesus in the Eucharist while still being safe in these difficult times? First of all, I'd like you to consider that maybe we're putting going back to church too low on our list of things to do. People are starting to return to restaurants, shopping, and other events in our community. Perhaps it's time to come back to the sacraments and see what we do at St. Edward's as an essential part of the Christian life. Now, second, you might not be comfortable coming back to weekend Mass yet because you think there are too many people. But maybe you will consider coming to one of our daily Masses where there are fewer. That might be a very easy way for you to ease back into your parish home by being part of our worship Monday through Friday at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's not Sunday Mass, but it is an opportunity to get closer and to receive Holy Communion. Or maybe you'd like to sign up for one of our smaller weekend Masses, like the Saturday 5:30 or the Sunday at 5:15 in the evening. Whatever we can do to help you transition back to St. Edward's is a blessing and a benefit. Also, Lent is right around the corner, and that might be a great time for you to come home to the church. February 17th is Ash Wednesday, and our church will march forward through this season toward Easter. Maybe God is calling you to a deeper connection with Him by inviting you to come back to the sacraments and to prayerful worship during this holy time of year. A number of our people have become accustomed to watching Mass on TV or on their phones during the times when attending in person was not possible. That was an important way for us to try to stay virtually connected to the faith. But these virtual encounters are never the same as worship in person. While trying to keep us connected over the airwaves, they can never take the place of receiving Holy Communion in person. So I encourage you to consider whether or not this is the time when the Lord is asking you to return to the Mass. We are currently receiving between 400 and 450 people every weekend. With the governor's new ruling, at our 5 Masses, we can accommodate up to 750 every weekend. I think we should set as our goal that by the end of the season of Lent, we reach between 600 and 650 people every weekend at our 5 Masses. That seems reasonable and attainable to me. Now, I want you to understand, this is not meant to pressure anyone into doing anything that makes them feel uncomfortable. From personal experience, I know how important it is to make sure that we take care of our own health first. And please know that if you have any symptoms of illness, we ask you to please continue to stay at home for your own safety and for all of our safety. But as the shepherd of this flock and the father of this family, I am calling you to consider whether or not it is time to return to worship in person. We have gone to great lengths to provide a safe and healthy environment here in our parish. These months have been a struggle, but we do not need to struggle alone. I want to invite you to come back home to St. Edward's, to come back home to worship, to come back home to the sacraments, to come back home to the celebration of our shared faith. Your presence here will help keep our parish strong as we see our way through these very challenging days. Thank you for all of your support, and thank you for your time today to hear this message. May God bless you all.